Welcome to Fruitbat Theatre, everyone. How you all doing? Yeah. Good to see some familiar faces and some people we haven't met before. So you may recognise us from last year's fitness panel, which we held in the same room on Sunday instead of the Friday. But we'll all introduce ourselves one by one. So I'll kick it off to Grace first.
Hey everyone, I'm Grace. I'm a content creator and I've been in the space since 2012. And over that time, probably like many of us, I've had lots of different journeys with my health and fitness. In 2016, I went through some personal trauma and I got to a point where I was kind of teetering on the edge of an eating disorder. I was about 45 kilos in this frame, where I'm in my like 70 kilo kind of vibes at the moment. And the hardest part, honestly, was to build back the mental health and resilience, because the trauma really messed with me quite a lot. So I met Jeff in 2017, and through a lot of coaching, lifting heavy and eating a lot of great food, I gained over 20 kilos of mass from that original picture. Since then, I've done lots of obstacle courses. I've done adventure racing, done a lot of running events with some people here in the audience. And we started a Twitch channel in 2017 called Fifth Purpose, where we streamed a lot of that as well.
Zell.
That's my turn now.
Yeah.
Lovely. Hello, everybody. I am Zelstis. I am also a content creator. I am sort of more of a normie on the panel today. I think I'm still pretty new in my fitness and health journey. I struggled with weight management basically my whole childhood. And then in my late 20s, I got diagnosed with PCOS and insulin resistance. So in the last couple of years, I've been on a little bit of a journey to like, how do I address those things in my life in a healthy way? I participated in my first ever like fitness event last year, Wings for Life, with these two. And this year I participated for a second time and I tripled my distance. So within that, thank you. Things to match. So yeah, within that time, I've made like a lot of really healthy, positive changes, within my fitness journey. So part of what I want to do is like be losing weight, but it's also just about living like a healthier lifestyle. And I also we'll talk a little bit more about this later, but I do take a GLP-1, which you guys may know more commonly. One of them is referred to as Ozempic. I use a different brand. And a lot of what I'll talk about today will be anecdotal as well. Like I'm not a professional. So everything that I say will be anecdotal. I just wanted to make that very, very clear. Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm up. Hello, everyone. I'm Damien. I'm a physiotherapist by trade. I met Jeff, about 2 years ago? Yeah. Started watching some of his content in some of the clinics I was at and some of the hospitals. His videos were great to give to patients who just kind of need to learn a bit more outside of when we're working with them. And from there have developed a bit of a, let's call it working relationship, where we're getting this going quite well. In terms of my background, obviously physiotherapy is my main drive, but I've worked in the hospital system, aged care system, home care, sporting, and then done research on the back of that as well. So main focus of what I do is just trying to get people who are on that lower end, either because of pain or injury, getting back up and running. So that's my main focus.
And you might want to have a chat on behalf of Dash.
Who is on her way.
Yeah.
Yep. She just called me, in fact, as I was making a little talk there. She is actually my clinical director. She runs an ASD, ADHD clinic. She's a nurse practitioner and registered psychologist.
Speaking of,
grand entrance.
Sincere apologies. You're fine.
We're actually just about to start talking about you. So do you want to explain who you are? There you are.
So this is why I feel I have so much to learn today. My name is Dashani. My background a little bit, as you can see, is quite extensive out there. But to kind of simplify is that I love human behavior. And human behavior basically helps me understand how I can relate to sort of different populations, different categories, and specifically today to you guys. Sorry, I'm so out of breath. I feel like I've just ran into I'm not really good at games. So this has felt like a game today. Going through the convention centre and going through where's parking? I'm going to kill somebody today. So my sincere apologies for that. But my background is a little bit more on the clinical side. I feel like I'm probably the only person that's not very cool here today. So
Stop.
That's
hopefully
insane
we
because
can
you're so
table that.
wild. Yeah.
You're very cool.
But I specialize in mental health and neurodevelopment assessments, specifically in ADHD and ASD. And a little bit of my background is that I'm a registered psychiatry nurse and also a psychologist. And oftentimes we actually work with a lot of people that comes with a lot of different backgrounds. Now, the major aim that I always say is that everyone's unique and everyone has their own superpowers and everyone's neurospicy to a certain degree. So a little bit about me.
I suppose, yeah, one of the reasons I invited Damon and Dash today is exactly as she said. As a personal trainer, and as Damo can probably attest to this, a lot of the clients that I deal with, we're all different and we're all unique. And I really did want to get a mental health, a fully qualified mental health professional here on the panel to help answer questions a bit later and just to comment on the things that we've put together here on the slides. So myself, I'll keep it really short because we've got a lot of content to get through. For those that don't know me, I turned 30 and I was morbidly obese. Decided to make a whole bunch of changes, mainly self-driven, self-taught at that stage. I realized after losing 53 kilos, becoming Ninja Warrior, 24-hour obstacle course racing world championships and whatnot, I became a personal trainer. And at that point, I realized how much I was missing out on by not working with a professional earlier on. So what I want to do now, like what Grace said, after we met, we noticed there was a lot of misinformation. There was a big gap in the market on Twitch and social media for actual just real knowledge, real advice that can get to people in their unique journeys. So where they're
And
at.
in a space where they're already comfortable, because obviously like a lot of you guys probably tune in on Twitch and we figured this is content that needs to belong on this platform, even though at the time in 2016 it was predominantly gaming. We saw an opening and thought this is the kind of thing that people need to be able to reach in an accessible way.
Yeah, and so yeah, a lot of you guys today want to congratulate you for being here. It might be a step out of your comfort zone just to come into a room like this. So well done to you. And so that's me. And I suppose we're putting these together each year, trying to get a little bit more in the PAX sphere with fitness panels every year. And so what I wanted to do was, well, actually, did you want to introduce?
Yeah, so with that, you've met everyone on the panel and we want to formally introduce you to Small Changes, Big Impact with a framework to help everyone here level up your fitness journeys. This is a room full of gamers and gamifying fitness and health is a great way to go about it. So Jeff, do you want to share with our gamers what their quest list is?
Yeah, so this is something that I did not invent. I've plagiarized a lot of this, but I've mashed it together in a way that I hope will resound with gamers, with people in this space, people in the room here today. It's probably things you've heard of before, but what I want to do is give you guys a way of thinking about how these terms are defined and how you can fit them together in order to help in a journey that you've potentially failed at, you feel like you haven't been able to do correctly by this journey, and give you another way to move in on that. And I want to invite anyone on the panel as well to jump in whenever they feel like they've got something to add on this one. So
Speaking of which, I'm going to jump in now. The big thing I did want to go through today is with everything we talk about, it is that kind of generalist advice. We have some great tips and things to start off with, but do remember, as Dash said, we are all kind of different. So don't think that anything that we're saying today, if it hasn't worked for you in the past, that you can't move forwards. It just means this is a great step to then go talk to your health professional, go talk to your physio, doctor, whatever it is, and take them these points and say, this is what I learned. Where can I go from here to kind of step it forwards for you?
yeah, so I'll just really quickly run through the steps and we'll get into each one into a bit of detail to talk about what it means. So what is your journey? We're going to talk about defining that, how you look at where you're going. Inspiration, motivation. This is, I think, is an interesting way of separating the two terms because a lot of people will look at them synonymously, but if we split them up, we can actually figure out a way to attack some goals in a very interesting way. Intention, discipline, willpower, all words that we know, but again, looking at really cool ways of making these work for us in a framework, and then resting and review where we basically take a look at the whole process there. So first one, journey. Everyone's got a bit of a journey. You may have been on a journey. You may have started on one, ended on one. You may be midway through one. But I think at this point, the way I wanted to define it is The journey is the difference between past you and present you and future you. So you're at where you are now because past you's made some decisions. Now, we don't want to talk about blame. We don't want to talk about shame. It could be a decision made because something's happened in your life or the way that you've reacted to something in your life. It could be that, you know what, I decided not to train a certain way and I've got to a point where I didn't hit my goals, right? So it's acknowledging the fact that a journey is about past you, making decisions, bringing you to where you are. You're going to make some decisions now, usually involving things that you don't want to be doing too much. Otherwise, you'd be there already. You're making decisions now for future you. So future you can look back and go, man, I made some good choices there. So that's basically the journey there. The milestones to reach for. Doing things that you don't want to be doing. Obviously, things are exercise and nutrition in my world. They're the big things that people don't really want to be doing too much of, but some less obvious things that come to my mind are things like...
A big one in probably gamers is staying up too late and not getting a nice full 8 hours of sleep.
Correct. You guys got anything else there that people don't want to be doing that might add to their goals?
Actually going to see a medical professional is enough. We all kind of avoid that, especially if it, for some of us getting a bit older. That yearly review is all we want to do. If that, sometimes it's about saying, okay, a couple more checkups is probably worthwhile, getting those bloods done, getting the BPs done, and actually finding the issues now so we can fix them for later.
I guess also to kind of add to that is that too often, like when I have conversations with anybody, like whether it's clients or whether it's people that I'm close to or in different types of interactions, people don't realize that too often they actually fall into almost the same category. So for example, if we're talking about sleep, most people tend to go, oh, maybe it's just too much caffeine. I think that's probably like the biggest thing that everybody kind of blames, or energy drinks. So either one of these two categories, or you might just be having a rough day or a rough week or a rough month. But too often people don't realize is that sleep is such a massive factor to affecting your day-to-day, how you perform on that day, how do you even have conversations, and how do you even have relationships. So it's as basic as sleep, and it doesn't have to go any more further than that, but that's basically where we start advocating. We go, come have a chat with us, or come have a chat with a mental health professional or medical professional, because that's something that's a very simple solution that can be introduced to your life and can make massive changes. And ideally, that's essentially the first step of your journey to paying attention to your health.
And even with sleep, we kind of think one night of, really bad gaming is fine, I'll catch up tomorrow. Those sleep cycles can take up to a week, sometimes even from one bad night, to fix themselves, and changes can start straight away. So it can really, one bad night can affect so much moving forwards that we fall into that habit then and just start everything the wrong way. So it's a big one to focus on.
You got to end on a win.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't end on a loss. Don't make me go to bed
Never
sad.
once have I had done that.
I've never won a game in my life.
And you know that tomorrow you was going to look back and go, past me made some bad choices there.
Yeah.
So
We won.
All right, so the next one I want to jump to, and again, I'm kind of racing through this because I feel like we want to have a bit of Q&A time at the end there to chat to people directly. Inspiration. So this one I want to, I've got some fun stories about this. So it's similar to motivation. I think a lot of people will use the term motivation when inspiration probably fits a bit better. Inspiration is similar, but it's usually less structured and more around feels. So something that makes me feel like doing something. So it comes in a couple of different flavors. I want to do the bad news first. So that's the negative inspiration. So how many people have heard someone or themselves have been able to do something and in the past, and they've not been able to do it now? Like, oh man, I used to be able to climb these stairs without getting winded. I used to be able to play with the kids. I used to be able to fit into this pair of pants. So that sort of idea is a negative inspiration, because some people actually respond really well to that. So some type A personalities will actually go, man, this thing is bad, I'm going to go make some changes. But the other side of that is that some people don't respond very well, which you guys can probably attest to. In which case we look at things like positive inspiration. So you're going to have lots of examples of that. My story I want to tell, we drove here from Adelaide, and I didn't realize, I was just flipping through my social media feeds before we drove, and I saw that there was this guy, he was doing a Trans-Atlas run. So he ran from the top of, like the tip of the Arctic Circle down to the bottom of Chile. So that whole thing on his feet, he ran. And he's now doing Perth to Sydney. And of course, just driving from Adelaide, we're driving
like
along.
listening to an audiobook, and all of a sudden Jeff's like, that's that
that Japanese guy. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's running from Perth to Sydney.
And so, no, so we saw, and
We've got on our dash cam.
Yeah, dash cam. I flipped around. I grabbed her extra bag of snakes, and you need some ultra-marathon fuel.
Snake.
Yep. And so we had some photos, and drove on. But that, like, for the next,
we were pumped.
Yeah, you're pumped. You're inspired. So that sort of event is an inspiration. It's short-lived, unfortunately, but it's enough to get you thinking about, hey, you know what? At Wings next year, I'm going to do a half marathon. Let's go. What's my training going to look like? So that sort of inspiration there. So you guys have any examples of things that inspire you in your lives?
It's not exactly. It's more like the concept of inspiration. So something that works really well for me, you may have heard of the concept of body neutrality. A similar thing is body positivity. So I find personally for me, body neutrality works a lot better for how my mind works than body positivity. So body neutrality is essentially treating your body like it's your body. You don't have to love it. You don't have to hate it. But because you don't love it doesn't mean you hate it as well. And like it takes away, it can help remove some of the shame around wanting to change your body as well. Because for me, with the body positivity movement, the way I started to interpret it for myself was like, oh, I feel like I want to change my body, but now I feel bad because that's not being what I see as body positivity. So changing my mindset and leaning more towards body neutrality has definitely helped how I guess, interpret my inspiration, and it's helped me really understand. And I didn't realize until we were talking about it the other night, like the idea of negative inspiration, like I'd never really had that put into words for me before. And I was like, yeah, like there's elements of that tie into the way that I see body neutrality that really helped me on my journey with much more self-acceptance and much more just like removing the shame around like if I want to change my body. And like it's also helped me like I have probably the best relationship with my body than I've ever had. And it's partly because of that concept of body neutrality and how I've been able to sort of flip that mindset and how I find my inspiration and how I then process that inspiration to then move on to things like what actually motivates me and things like that. So, yeah.
I do find the concept of the positive and negative inspirations really good, but also something I kind of want to use both of. And that's that the extreme of either is bad. If you go full inspiration and say, you know, this guy's run a marathon, that's me next year. The second you don't start to hit those goals, you wane because, you know, I haven't hit the 20K I was supposed to hit. So we have to measure that. On the other side of it, the negative inspirations, it's not too bad to go, look, I'm not where I want to be in my body. I do want to make some changes. That's the negative part. But as long as you're not saying I'm terrible and disgusting, I've got to fix this. It's just, that isn't quite where I want to be. These slight changes need to be made. So it's that fine balance of both. When you use both at once, it's the wasn't quite happy and I want to get to here. That's the best way to do it that I've found so far.
And I think the idea of doing that as well, like acknowledging the maybe negative inspiration is actually being really kind to yourself. And I think that's really important as well. Like just because it's a negative inspiration, like, you might think that's bad. It's not. It's being quite kind to yourself. And I think that's important as well.
And it's also a good catch sometimes. Like I definitely did it a couple of years back where I went to put on a pair of pants and went, these don't fit anymore. Whoops. All right. I'm probably having too much junk food and not exercising enough. Let's flip this around and what can I do with this now? So it can be useful as long as you don't hate yourself afterwards.
100%.
Awesome.
I guess one of the things, sorry, just to kind of quickly add is actually what fuels your inspiration. Because what I guess collectively hearing from everybody sharing is that, and what I've also kind of observed, even for my own personal self, like a little bit of my personal journey, I love being active and I love challenging myself. And so I kind of take it up to a single notch of going, I don't only enjoy human behavior through as a psychologist, but I also enjoy actually, sitting in a ring. So I actually professionally fight for the last 4 to 5 years for MMA and Muay Thai.
And you said you weren't cool.
I'm slowly leveling up.
Next time we have something go wrong in the clinic, I'm calling you.
Yeah, so this is the hidden backup so the team doesn't know. But it's actually really interesting because part of that journey when I started, almost like everybody here, it is, reflecting on my self-confidence, reflecting as myself. And too often we tend to, I guess, we're the harshest critic. And I think everyone has heard that, say, from a different level and an angle to a certain degree. But what I had to really realize when I started on this journey, and I really enjoyed it, is that I see these combative spots as like playing human chess. And it's like understanding human behavior, understanding in terms of that different people rock up to different situations completely with different intentions. And that's when you really get to understand that what actually fuels you is what's actually going to drive you. So if it's being fueled in a negative way, it's not going to have a very positive impact on your life. So just to kind of make it as simple as that, is that you got to be careful in terms of what inspires you.
Yeah. Also, mental note: don't upset Dad.
Well, I almost MMA in the car, so let's just say that.
No, that's a great segue actually into. Oh, so I popped a slide up here with some inspiration. I was going to tell this story about this team that I used to race obstacle course races with. They're called Team Damaged Goods. Very, very, very short story. The guy in the wheelchair, obviously paraplegic. He climbs ropes. He climbs the whole obstacle there. The guy that's pulling it has 2 fused ankles, titanium ankles, because he fell off of a mountain one time. And the guy standing with no shirt in the top right photo, he's only operating on half a lung. He went to the doctors one day, shoulder hurts. Called him after some bloods. You've got to come back here. You have testicular cancer. Nowhere near your shoulder. It made its way through his torso. They had to remove 1.5 lungs. So he runs full marathons with half a lung. So for me, I go, man, he's doing that. That's cool. So that's the positive inspiration that I was going to tell the story about before we ran into our Jack race friends. Wataru. Cool. So motivation, I just wanted to differentiate this between inspiration. So motivation in the framework that I've sort of thrown together here is a goal-driven desire. So now once you've actually figured out the goal that you want to go towards, so you've all heard of SMART goals, I'm hoping. That's one of the things that I use with my clients. You guys might use something different in your practices.
Absolutely, SMART goals.
Yep, SMART goals.
Basic clinical practice is SMART goals.
Yeah, so specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. So do we need a refresher on those? Are we all good? So
Has
specific.
everyone worked in corporate?
Yeah. So I suppose it's important that each of those things fits, because once you've got a SMART goal, the actual wants to do that is the motivation. So you wake up in the morning.
If I came to you and I was like, I want to run a marathon tomorrow and I've only ever run 5Ks.
No, that's not
Probably
an A.
not a SMART goal.
Yeah, the A's not hit on that one, the achievable. So that's probably not humanly achievable by you. And I mean, the time-based thing, you get a tick in that box, but tomorrow is not going to work. So, and so when people wake up in the morning and they say, "Oh, I don't have motivation," what they're saying is that they haven't really thought about what they're working towards, or what they are working towards isn't important enough to them. So it's thinking about what's actually a SMART goal that is that important to you that you're going to wake up and you're not going to skip your workout. You're not going to have a big breakfast when you were planning on a calorie controlled day, that sort of thing. So the ones I got, yeah, exactly. I've signed up for a marathon later this year, and it's important that I run this marathon later this year because this is just an example. The marathon is supporting a charity which has helped out some of my family members. So that sort of a thing is a pretty important goal to a lot of people. I did put words in your mouth here, Damo, and I was saying if if someone's undergoing knee surgery in 12 weeks, they need to complete their prehabilitation exercises. So the idea that, you know what, I'm going to get through surgery and I'm going to be strong after surgery is a pretty big impetus to be doing your prehab workouts, your prehab exercises.
I support my message.
And I kind of came to Jeff with that goal when we first met. When we met, I couldn't do a push-up, and I was like, hey, is there a chance that I can qualify for the World Championship obstacle course racing in 6 months? He's like, you know what, hell yeah. And we did it, and I got there, and we went to Canada. So...
And I think, again, this might be something that Zell or Dash might want to chat on. One thing that I do when setting the SMART goals is we try not to set examples of bad goals, because a lot of people, when they come to me as a trainer, they'll say things like, and this is pretty poor language, which I correct pretty quickly, though, I don't want to be fat anymore, Jeff. So I don't want to be fat. I don't want to be weak. I don't want to have bad knees. So that sort of thing, it might sound like a good goal to work towards, but you can treat it a little bit like the analogy of a toy boat and a hairdryer. So if you're blowing away this toy boat, after a while, the idea of being fat or being weak, it sort of dissipates after a bit, and you end up just floating out there, moving away from this idea of a bad thing that you don't want to work towards. Or you want to work away from, sorry. So the idea is that we want to work towards good things. So instead of saying something like, I don't want to be fat, which again is the negative the negative inspiration, which will quite quickly correct and say things like, okay, we want to look at your body fat percentage, which is measurable, and we're going to work towards a more healthy body fat percentage, a more healthy range of BMI or something to that effect. We will be working towards that in a timely manner at a rate that you can achieve. So that sort of idea there.
I think SMART goals are also can be a bit misleading because we've talked about, again, the marathon. We keep on saying marathon, probably because you've run them a couple of times. But that as a SMART goal itself is a hard one to do. So rather than looking at just pure large goals, we break it down to short and long-term goals. Your long-term SMART goal may be run the marathon, but that should be a moving target where we say, yes, I would like to do it next year, but the end goal can be a bit further and say that SMART goal can be next year or the year after. And then we do a short-term SMART goal, which is more monthly based, or if you want to do it even quicker than that because you're trying to move a bit faster, fortnightly, or even 6 months. So that you can do that where you say, the target I'm aiming for is achievable, but if I'm not hitting these goals for the marathon, don't give up. Let's reassess this SMART goal. Let's remake it. Let's get a short-term one that you can definitely achieve.
Yeah, and I think failing a goal is a teachable moment as well. Not every goal you're going to set, you're going to hit, and that doesn't have to be a bad thing. That's something you'd come to someone like Jeff with and be like, hey, so that didn't pan out. What did we do wrong?
Yep. And yeah, to Damo's note there, we'd probably be keeping a close eye if you're working with a professional on whether or not things are going to be hitting.
Yeah, just to kind of, just to kind of add on that, like when you said keeping with a professional, like even for myself, I see so much value in terms of getting somebody else to hold me accountable. And I think people kind of throw that statement, have an accountability partner, but the extent and that can actually benefit you, especially if you're, for example, we use the marathon as an example. Even in your short-term goals and your long-term goals, having somebody else hold that responsibility and that weight of going, okay, we're going to get through this, but I'm going to hold you to it and I'm going to coach you through it, holds so much more sort of a ripple effect where you're able to just trust the journey. And I kind of see it as like, that's how you really level up in terms of actually succeeding your goals on time and also being able to enjoy the moments, because you are going to have a fluctuations of going up and down, and that's just natural for anybody. And having an external person coaching you through that journey is probably the most valuable thing that I could ever advocate for.
With the big disclaimer that we're not going to get angry if it goes wrong. I think a big thing we face sometimes, it's kind of like when you go to the dentist and you say, yeah, I've been brushing and doing it all. They know you haven't. There's no lie there. But we're not angry that it's gone wrong. And when a patient comes back and says, yeah, I've been doing it all, and you go, well, that limb is not bending still, so no, you're not. I don't care. Let's work through it. Let's fix it. Let's see why you weren't doing it, and we can adjust. So don't think that you're going to come back to us and we'll get upset. It's part of the journey. And again, even as a professional, there are times where I'm just like, I have not exercised in 4 weeks. This is not good enough. It happens. I've been using Jeff, actually, you didn't know this, as my inspiration. So every time there was a Fit for Purpose stream, I kind of said I have to go to the gym at that time, because if he's doing it, I'm doing it. So they don't have to know that they're your accountable marker. If you don't have someone that you want to kind of hold as that point, use someone who you can see on a regular basis and just have that bounce off to kind of keep you going along.
I do want to throw a quick note in there as well, because I have spoken with people who have had bad experiences with professionals. And it not an elephant in the room, but I think it's like any old relationship that you're in with people. If you do have a trainer or a professional that you're working with that does shame you and doesn't make you feel good about not hitting goals and not making progress, dump them. Find someone else to work with. Even when you're looking for the first professional to work with, have a chat with a few people. Anyone worth their salt will most likely do a bit of a free consult, a free chat with you, and then you find who's going to work with you best for those goals.
Yeah, actually, we do that as well. Even in our clinic, we do 20-minute screeners to say, meet your clinician. If you don't like them, there'll be someone else. But again, if you're not vibing with the person or they're going to shame you, you're not going to get anything out of them. So find someone that will work.
Unfortunately, it's not a service where you can, I guess, like, it's not like we're walking in Coles and you're like, this is a product that's going to look exactly the same for everybody. And so, like, it's that with that intention that we also understand that it is a very sort of vulnerable experience for anybody in our services coming through. And it doesn't mean that, they are, sometimes people come under the notion that they have to be completely defeated before they need to get help or support. And most of the time we see so much value when people go, you know what, I'm seeing signs, let me just be a little bit proactive, and let me just actually start talking to somebody about it. And oftentimes they only need a little bit of a guidance from our end and they're good to go. So you don't really have to be defeated. You know, it's like having additional tools in your toolkit to be able to level up or to be able to go and thrive in life in a different way.
And so many people feel bad about that as well. I've had patients come in and go, my bloods are mostly fine, but cholesterol's a little bit high. I'm 30 and it can probably wait. You go, no, this is the perfect time. Do it now. It's a small change we have to make. And then when you're 40, this won't be an issue. But if you come back when you're 40 and it's all sideways, this is a lot harder to fix. So again, don't look at it and go, it's a small change. I can just ignore it. Get onto it now.
Perfect. I suppose this is the next part of the framework, intention. So we can probably move past this pretty quickly because this is basically the shift from now thinking about things to doing things. And we've already touched on this quite a bit, where basically now you've got a goal, you're going to find a way that is proven to work. So whether that be working with a professional who can write that program for you, so whether that's myself for fitness and physical-based goals, whether that's Dash or Damo for the I suppose mental health or some other type of recovery type goals, it's finding a plan that works. And I suppose the idea behind intention is that there is going to be a plan, maybe unique to you, maybe it'll work for a few different people or a subset of the population, but there will be a plan that will work. So I suppose, for instance, if you want to grow muscles, you just lift heavy things. And the way that it happens is going to be your program. If you want to drop body fat, you're going to need an exercise and nutrition program, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the definition of the intention. It's taking that goal and now finding a program to execute. Probably not to add. We've already spoken about it. Yeah, nailed it. So this is the bit where I don't mind if people grab their phones out and write this down, and I'm probably going to repeat it. So this is the thing that when I explained the idea to Grace, she's like, "Hang on,
I'm going to get you to do the thing that when you say it."
All right, okay. So discipline is what it takes to minimize the gap between your intended plan and your adherence to that plan.
Okay, so everyone close your eyes and really listen to him say it again, because I had to really process this sentence.
So discipline is what it takes to minimize the gap between your intended plan and the adherence to said plan. And I went and actually made a little graphic here. So
he was so proud of this graph. He's like, guys, look
at my graphic. Look at my graph.
To be fair, I saw that and I was like, damn, that's a good graph.
I'm going to use that.
So if, for instance, your intended plan is the red line, so we know that because we've purchased a good program or we've got a trainer that's working with us to deliver this program, if I do exactly what this program says, I'm going to get results. And we know this because it works for many, many people. The adherence, the blue line, that's us. That's the real life. Things get in the way, run out of time, got kids, got injured, don't feel like it. That's our adherence. It drops down. So what we need is the idea of discipline. And we've heard this, the David Goggins sense of just be hard kind of thing. Doesn't work for everyone, but the idea is that we need discipline to bring ourselves back up to that intended plan. But the problem is that discipline draws upon a finite battery of willpower. And so I'm hoping...
How many people play Apex Legends? Imagine you've got your shield batteries in your backpack. You can only hold like a certain amount. Each charge uses a bit of energy.
Well, what's Kara now? Peak. So you've got the stamina bar, right? That's your willpower. And so everything that happens throughout the day is going to draw upon your willpower to a certain extent. That's the idea of this willpower battery analogy, is that, if you wake up, you have to decide what to make for lunch. You've got, oh man, I've got to go drive an hour to the gym. I've got all of these things are going to draw upon this battery so that when it actually comes time to do your plan, you don't have the willpower left to do it. And that's where our adherence falls down. So that's the idea here. And I suppose
this is also where your SMART goals become really important, because goal missing is going to slap that willpower so far down, because the first time you go, I was supposed to be able to hit 5K this week and I'm barely at 1. Well, now what do? It's been 4 weeks and I've got nowhere. That'll destroy his willpower. That's why those short-term goals and the backup goals and understanding that it is, a curve that will move is so important to keep you on track.
There are some... Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, going back to one of the goals that you said some people come to you with, which is like, I don't want to be fat anymore. I used to think like that. That was my goal. I didn't want to be fat anymore. As soon as I switched that into a SMART goal and had actual achievable, measurable things, like my whole perspective and my whole journey completely flipped and changed because that motivation, or not the motivation, the intention, motivation wasn't taking like a hit all the time. Because I was like, I'd wake up the next day, I'm like, I didn't just become skinny overnight. And it's like,
I went to the gym 3 times.
I went to the gym, guys. I ate like a lettuce.
I walked like 10,000 steps.
Yeah, like,
What's
why isn't
happened?
this working? And it's like, it was constantly every day taking a hit. And as soon as I flipped that, I've seen just such a difference in my mentality and my journey since flipping that.
Yeah, you can come up with some really interesting analogies to append to this as well. So if you think about the size of your battery, one of the things I've heard with this analogy is if you have a really strong why in the back of your mind, that's almost like increasing the size of that battery or adding the extra little peak stamina bar. You've just eaten a banana or whatever it is, you get a little bit of extra stamina there. So if you're thinking to yourself, you know what, my close family member passed away from heart disease. So that's why I'm getting up to get some exercise in today. That's immediately a bit of a boost to that willpower battery. So those sorts of things, yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit of a tip and trick that even I use and even I work with a lot of clients that has been beneficial is that I think this sort of chart is perfect because it's relevant to anybody in it, like anybody in any of their journeys, depending on what they're trying to achieve. What I tend to say is that with your SMART goals, and we talk about short-term goals, let's say your aim is to run 10Ks for the whole week because you're training for a marathon. We'll go for that analogy. But, you know, you're scheduled to run 3 times a week and you can't really do it. So I then tend to create smaller SMART goals where I go, if I can't actually go out and run today, could I potentially squeeze in a 15-minute walk? So all these tiny SMART goals essentially add up to the fact that you're still showing up and you're still building that discipline up in so your battery is still increasing. So having those tiny minor goals as well do a massive difference because that's how you change your state of mind to be like, okay, I'm actually doing something rather than 4 weeks later, we're not anywhere close.
It's also keeping aware of like where you are in life. Saying I want to go run 3 times a week, 5K, sounds great. But if you've got kids, if you work long hours, if you have a lot of travel, that is not doable. So why are you setting yourself a target that in theory is great, but in practice is not? So try and make it almost fit your lifestyle. If you're a gamer, and this is where I'm going to throw Grace under the bus a bit because I'm going to make her do it. If you're a gamer and you like playing, Battlefield's coming out today, if that's your jam, fit it into that. So what I'm going to ask Grace to do, next big stream, let's look at your kill-death ratio. Let's say for every kill after each game, I want to push up. For every death, I want to sit up.
Can we swap them around? Because I
Swap it.
Okay, cool.
You can do that. And again, that's, if we're playing for 4 hours, that's a lot of push-ups
do
and sit-ups.
wipe the lobbies, so let's push up.
Well, so you can also add that in there and just say, that's a way for me to make sure I'm getting my exercise in whilst recharging my battery and I'm getting somewhere. And again, it doesn't have to be the same exercise every time. You can do, the KD variance is where you do some burpees. Flip it around a bit. Just make sure you're getting your, exercise done in a way that's going to suit you.
We also live in a technological age. I have a standing desk and an under desk treadmill that I can literally walk on while I play video games. So if you have, obviously it's not super accessible in terms of cost because they're quite expensive, but we do have a lot of resources at our fingertips in this age we live in.
Yeah. I suppose that's a really good segue just to the next slide, which is on the same thing, but the idea of that willpower battery and having some strats which are going to either save battery or save it from being drawn for the times that you actually need to draw upon that big willpower to get your goals done. So I mentioned them before, things like using a meal prep service is a really, really good way to, or meal prep yourself. You don't have to make those decisions on the day. So you're not actually deciding what I'm going to eat, what's for dinner, et cetera, et cetera. It's already there, ready to go. Getting your gym bag ready before, like the night before you need to go. You don't have to wake up and go, oh, where's my stuff? Where are my socks? I can't find them. That's willpower that you don't need to be drawing down upon.
It's also decision fatigue, right?
Yeah. Literally. And even just the fatigue of the fatigue that you forego by having a personal trainer write your workouts for you. You don't have to go to the gym. How many people have rocked up and are like, I'm here. What do I do?
That was me for the first 3 years. I had no idea what I was doing. And as a woman, I was never really encouraged to lift weights. So I'd be like, okay, I'll go to this cardio machine and I'll do some of these ones. And then I'll run a little bit and I'll do the stairs. And I'm like, I guess these ones are really good. I guess I'm done now. And then I go home and be like, I suppose I did something. And then working with Jeff and logging in and having my app and like, here's your workout. And you get the little wins as you check them off. And some people hear it on the programs, and having that little, like, there's a little graphic that's like, good job, you did your workout. It's just like, there's little like gamified.
It also removes the
moments.
awkwardness of going to the gym and going, I don't know what I'm doing. And there are some strong people here lifting really well. And I'm just going to do this.
This is my favorite.
It worked. No one's looking at me. All right, let's move on. And I'm never going to come back again. Having these set out, you go, okay, the exercise is clear. I can do it. I can ask my questions. There's no need to stress about what you're doing outside of it.
You can also budget your time too, because you know exactly what you have to do. And Jeff's made it that it's okay, it's a 45-minute or it's a 20-minute or. Yeah.
Cool. Anyone want to add anything to that?
Well, yeah, that goes through the charting. So, keep it nice and charted for you. If you know that, again, with the gaming setup, you go, for the first 5 games, it's push-ups versus sit-ups. Next 10 games are burpees. After that, it's squats, all the above.
I'm going to be so sweaty.
Yeah.
In every way.
Yeah, it's going to get there. But at least then you don't have to stress about it, because you can go, mine can turn off for those, 20 seconds and go, what's next? It's charted. Job done. The other big one I like to do is, again, the medical sense of test, assess, test. So you set your baseline of what you want to do. If that is the marathon, you go for a 1K run, test how long it takes you to do that. Start doing your treatment plan, start doing your exercises, work with Jeff, do what you got to do. But in that journey, you'll find that even though you're trying to get to that 42K, it's hard to pick how far you're going. It's hard to pick if you're getting better or worse. So now and then go back and just run that 1K again and see what the time difference is. You'll be able to assess yourself and go, I feel like I haven't changed that much, but my 1K difference is now down 2 minutes. I'm getting somewhere. So it's going to help you on that way. Just make sure that you're actually feeling that progress, because at the end of the day, if you've been lifting weights, Jeff can probably attest this, and Grace, that 5 kilos doesn't feel like much after 2 months, but in your mind, you're going, I've only moved up 10 kilos in weights. What's gone wrong here? And then you go, okay, my bench line of being able to do 20 of them before I got tired is now 50. There's a change.
Yep, identifying the wins.
What is that god-awful step test you put people through with your...
Harvard step test?
Oh yeah, that's
So-
good stuff.
Yeah,
It's so rough.
I'm all for here.
Yeah. And the other one is don't compare to others. That's the other big one.
Yeah.
You'll have mates that are on the same journey. We're going to work at different rates. We've got different lives. Don't think because he's run 20K and I haven't that you're not there. You're working at different rates. So just focus on your own journey at that stage.
Same goes for social media. You see everyone's wins. You don't see the shit that they've gone through.
That's the same for your emotional health. I think oftentimes people tend to copy and paste, and just a side note, it is never the same. So how your journey with your own emotional health looks completely different, and that's completely fine, because it's almost that's your avatar and that is your own superpower. When you get to actually enhance it and you understand it and you adopt it to go, this is who I am, you get so much clarity of who you are as a person, and you'll be able to actually take decisions in a complete different light. And so that's why I say don't copy and paste your emotional state. It doesn't work that way.
Like if you compare any two people on this panel, if we were to do the same exercises, same time frame, same day, same everything, we are going to have different results because we have different physiology, we have different muscle mass to start with. So again, even that straight one-to-one will never work for you.
Yeah, I wanted to say that because we've been using marathon as a
I'm not running a marathon.
when realistically, and
I'm
a
not
few
doing
of the guys here will know, when they just start on the couch to 5K program, a lot of it is you're going to go out for 30 minutes and you're going to jog for 20 seconds and then walk for 2 minutes and jog for 20 seconds and walk for 2 minutes. So looking at it that way as well. So making sure that we do adjust for people's journeys and where they're at. So want to make note of that.
Yeah, and something that I just wanted to add to this section as well is something that can help. Well, it helps me with my willpower is identifying the value of my time, because I know a lot of people are very time poor, especially in the age that we're in now with technology and people's access to other people and everything that we want to do. So I put my priority is on enabling myself to live like a healthier life, get like cardio in and things like that. So I do things like grocery delivery. It can be really simple changes in your everyday life. And that can also take out decision fatigue. It can also take out temptation. So if you're struggling with overeating or anything like that, that can help, like, if you're just looking at a screen, you're like, this is what I need. It helps with meal planning and stuff as well. And one of the things that I've found has helped me significantly is I wear comfy clothes all of the time. So I can literally go from here. If I wanted to go for a walk or like go to the gym, I could do it in the clothes that I'm in now because I'm comfortable enough to go and do that. So, because like fitness clothes were always a almost challenge, a hill for me to get over because I've never really liked them. I'm plus size, so a lot don't really fit me. They're hard to find. So I just like my everyday clothes are comfortable enough to enable me to immediately, if I want to go and work out, I can as well. I think that's helped me a lot.
That's great.
That's great. So the last point in the framework there is about resting and review. So we spoke a bit about sleep earlier and then resting. I suppose from my perspective, the gains aren't really built in the gym. They're actually built when you're sleeping. So if you're lifting heavy, you're putting your muscles through a lot of fatigue. If you're eating well, all of that stuff happens when you're sleeping. So getting enough sleep, but in the more general term rest, it's about either deloading, but it's also about finding the ups and downs between high intensity periods and lower intensity periods in whatever plan you're working on. And the idea here is that sometimes people don't have a very good rest ethic. We've heard of a good working ethic, but having the differentiation between a work ethic and a rest ethic, if they bleed into each other, sometimes you're not working hard enough, you're not resting hard enough, and that can lead to issues where you're just sitting in a no man's land of mediocrity between both, and you don't get too much progress. So I suppose that's one of the things I wanted to bring up, and then I suppose get your guys' take on resting as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Rest is really important. Too much rest is bad for you, as the basic sense. Yeah. It really goes down that line, and again, as gamers, we can fall into that quite easily with our rest and enjoying a game and getting too far into it and then forgetting to do what we've got to do. So it's just finding that balance constantly is key.
I guess like on top of that, like resting, if we actually kind of break it down a little bit, is that if you're gaming and you are having that expectation that you're going to go to bed straight away and you're going to turn off, it's not going to happen. Because one of the biggest things is that you're stimulated, your brain is really stimulated, especially if if you have ADHD, you've been diagnosed with ADHD, that's like the commonality that we do tend to have these conversations around, is that your brain is running 1,000 miles an hour. And so when you're, overstimulated and you're hyperfixated, this is the terms that we tend to use, is that you're really vested into winning that game. You're really vested in terms of trying to achieve that particular goal, and having that expectation to actually just automatically turn off and go to bed is impossible for anybody. So one of the biggest things when we look in terms of resting and we have the conversations is that it could be as simple as, after you finish gaming, dimming the lights and actually sitting down, putting calm music where it's not going to stimulate it even more further, and actually, playing something in the background where you can actually fall asleep to. Because too often times when your brains are really noisy, this is why people tend to, gravitate towards white noises or brown noises these days. So trying to kind of calm your brain down is so important before you actually go to sleep, so that you actually have a restful night.
And if you're struggling with quality of sleep, it's also really worth talking to a professional. You can do sleep tests and things like that. I've done a sleep test and it's actually significantly helped my quality of sleep. So it's something I hadn't really considered till I was like, I'm tired all the time. My doctor was like, let's maybe look into your actual, so even if maybe you're getting enough, what should be enough hours, but you still don't feel rested, like absolutely look into that if that's possible for you.
And sort of worked into this point is the review process as well, because normally, or especially with a lot of my programs, the deloading will come before a program phase change. And that's when we actually have a look back, and we mentioned it before with the SMART goals. Are you on track to hit those SMART goals? Did you hit these goals this block? Are we going to push on further? And if not, making sure that we adjust the goalposts as necessary, so it's not going to affect your willpower, affect your state of mind with those sorts of things. And then, I brought the other step forward there, the why is an insurance policy, because what that can really do is help to bolster that motivation. And actually inspiration can play a really, really good part at any point of your journey. So if you are the type of person that really gets inspired by the things that you see, make sure you're curating your Instagram feed so that when you wake up, you get a real quick burst of a kick in the butt to go do something. So those little short kicks of inspiration are really, really handy for the review process and keeping on goals.
I was just thinking, we have about 12 minutes left. I was thinking if anyone in the audience was curious about engaging these professionals, did you want to go down and describe what it is that you do for people and how they can get in touch for all you three?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can kick it off. So yeah, normally people would get in touch with me actually via Discord is probably the best way. And so yeah, if you hit up the website fitforpurpose.tv, there's email addresses and Discord servers and whatnot, which is probably the easiest way. And what I tend to do first is, like I mentioned, the consult. So we have a chat about how you're feeling. We have a chat about what it is you think your goals are. And normally we said people will come to me with the negative inspiration that they're feeling about their current situation. And then we try and flip that around into some workable SMART goals. And all the while, basically building a rapport between the two of us. So that number one, you're comfortable with working with me. Number two, I think I can work with you. And then obviously there's all of the legal processes we go through where I do the screening and whatnot to make sure that you don't need to be going to see a GP first, because that's pretty important. If you're signing up with a PT and they don't ask you questions about diabetes, heart health in the family, etc., kick them out because they're not doing the right thing. And then at the end of the consult, if I feel like I can fit a plan to the customer, the client, then yeah, we'll kick it off from there. So programming online, if you're local to the South Australia area, I do a lot of in-person stuff as well. So
yeah. For Darsh and I, obviously we work in the same clinic, the ADHD, ASD focus. So if it is something where you feel like you've got a bit more of a spicy brain and want to get it assessed, you can definitely go onto our website, which is nexiahealthcare.com, or go onto our Instagram or Facebook.
Yeah, we do have Facebook.
There we go.
I had to think about that for a second.
Facebook as well. And essentially just apply via the link and then we'll get in contact with you from there. Our main focus is making sure that if you do think you've got a diagnosis, we're going to work you through the entire process, get you in front of our psychologists, get you in front of our psychiatrist, our pediatrician if you've got a child that's young. And then after that, make sure you actually get treatment. Our biggest concern has been that you may have dealt with in the past. A psychologist will give you a quick assessment, kind of say there's something there, make you find your own psychiatrist, which can take 1.5 years sometimes. You'll get a diagnosis, you'll get some meds, and then you're told, good luck, on with it, make it work. Our big thing is to make sure you actually go through something afterwards and you have a psychologist to work with who can actually then help you on the journey and help you on that pathway. And if it's that scenario where we come out of it and say you actually don't have a diagnosis, you've just got symptoms and other things going on, we'll still work with you to make sure that you actually get the help you need, because at the end of the day, you've come forwards for a reason and we want to make sure that works.
Just to kind of add to that is that I think too often everyone sort of focuses on, mental health difficulties, like simple as anxiety or, struggling to be able to cope on a day-to-day basis for different aspects. You might be thriving in one area of your life, but you're really struggling in another area. And that essentially is what we call, the top level difficulties, where it's so present, that's what you're sort of fixated on. But too often is that a lot of psychologists or a lot of other practices don't really focus in terms of what the core root issue is. So that's probably why we say that we specialize in neurodevelopment and mental health, because mental health is probably the most easiest that we see on a surface level, but there's often a lot more to the story than that. So.
Perfect.
all right.
Any questions? Do we have a mic? Perfect. We've got a rooming.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you. So earlier at the beginning, when you were doing a lot of the introductions, Grace in particular and Jeff, you sort of mentioned like as part of the gamifying aspect of leveling up your fitness journey, you talked about like using things like apps that could give you like badges and sort of little achievements and things like that. Were there any sort of were there any like apps just sort of anecdotally that you recommend or that you had a good experience with that you might sort of suggest as something that people might want to look into?
Yeah. So, I mean, for tracking nutrition, MyFitnessPal is really good for just getting a picture of what you're eating, and it's something that you recommend to people straight away is don't change anything that you're doing, but just start logging what you're eating to get a bit of an idea of where you're at, and then you can talk to someone like Jeff about your goals and where nutrition fits into that. But your app, or Jeff, yeah, you can talk about it.
Yeah, I don't like self-promoting myself in the panel.
Do it.
So yeah, the app that I use, it's a white labeled backend, but it does include all of the gamified stuff. So yeah, when you sign up with me, I do all of my consultations and the forms through this app. But you'll find that it is very prevalent that a lot of these apps do a lot of the gamification. So you get the little badges and the achievements and things. Especially there's a few nutrition ones as well. I think one's called Chronometer. I haven't used personally. It's MyFitnessPal because that syncs into the one that I use as well. Yeah.
And with Jeff's, it tracks everything. So when you go and do a workout, if you've done dumbbell presses at one point, it'll say what you've done, what rep range and what weight range, and what your like PB is. So you can try and hit new PBs.
Yeah, this morning I hit the gym and didn't realize like you can go and do something and then you go, okay, this is a max volume that I've ever done on this one particular workout. And so you, okay, good day. So you make your go about it. That's the one he's got it. Yeah.
Winning.
Have a look.
To be fair, Garmin is actually good for it as well. Just a very basic. If you're doing, getting into exercise, there's a wide Garmin range and they're very good at just giving you those little goals that you pop up with. So it's really nice sometimes when you go, I've had a bad run, and it goes, oh, furthest you've been. You go, all right, great, got something out of this.
Just beware, Garmin can be pretty savage. It's always telling me like,
it seems to be telling me off too many times.
I feel like Apple's very nice. It's like, great job, you tried to move, whereas Garmin's just like, what are you doing? Yeah.
So they're like a range, GAIMIN, wasn't it?
Yes, Garmin.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing your experience. I have a question about motivation and goals. I often find myself in the morning, maybe I didn't have a good sleep, I just don't feel a bit sickly. I find myself in a battle against my mental battle, whether I should go and do my exercise or not. And I don't know whether I am justified in saying, oh, maybe I shouldn't exercise, otherwise I'll get very sick. Because sometimes I actually do get sick, I realize. But most of the time, if somebody tries me out, I have a great time. So is it a good battle to fight, and how do you win it?
Yes and no. So the biggest thing I bring up to people when they say something like this is, why are you picking mornings? If mornings that don't work for you and you don't like mornings, do it the afternoon, do it midday. Why battle against yourself at this stage? Even though the exercise itself when you get there is fun, that first battle to even get there can ruin the entire day when you go, I was supposed to get up and run and I just couldn't be bothered, and now you feel bad all day for it. So if you need to, schedule it around a time that works for you better. I know I can't do mornings. I've tried. It just not works for me. So I do afternoons.
And from a more, I suppose, clinical approach, if you are working with a PT, we'll often look for signs of fatigue and things like that. So how often are you tired? Is this a chronic thing in the mornings? Or shall we move them to afternoon sessions like Damo suggested? Or if there are actually like physiological things showing signs, you know what, I'm starting to get a bit of a rash, I'm coughing, like those sorts of things, eyes are drooping, then you know what, you might be showing signs of fatigue, and that's a goalpost shift. That's when we work on, actually bringing it back a bit. So
Thank you.
all right.
I think you touched on it a bit at the end, but I just probably wanted to understand a bit more about how you look at a problem to a specialist to address it. So when would you go to a PT versus a GP versus physio versus dietitian and the same for mental?
That's a good, I suppose I'll jump in real quickly, simply because I suppose these days, and this is the way that I was trained, and it has changed over the years, but these days we were trained as personal trainers to be the generalist gateway. And so if you're dealing with, because usually it's a personal trainer is the first person you'll see, and I am nowhere near as qualified as these guys, but I know the scope of my practice, and I know where to draw the line with, this is not my expertise, but I've got friends that actually look at this sort of stuff, and here are some numbers, and then I can write a referral. I can write you out a letter and say, this is our history, please contact me if you need more information, but yada yada here wants to go have a chat with you, and I would recommend you speak to them as soon as possible. So it's usually the personal trainer or the person at the ground level that should be making those referrals. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I kind of go a different way with this, because I think Jeff is a very good personal trainer, and again, I have nothing but respect for all the things he says, because it's normally right, which is great. But there are a lot of personal trainers, especially the ones that work at gyms, that are just there to get you exercising and get the money from it. Whereas I kind of go across the medical line, again, probably because I'm in the medical field, where I go, your GP is your first port of call. Again, with bulk billing being a thing, and someone who you should be seeing on a regular basis anyway, they're going to be doing the bloods, they can do the ECGs, they'll do your general fitness checks, and they're going to be able to say, you're looking good, or here are the issues we need to work on, here's what we want to do. They'll then be able to send you off to your physio or to your personal trainer, or if you need specialists in mental health, send you across to a specialist there. So they're that kind of central hub, which you can then, from your medical basis, expand from.
I think just to kind of add from that as well is that don't be intimidated in actually advocating for yourself, especially if you feel like there is something that doesn't sit really well with you, especially when it comes to medical professions. I tend to sometimes have an uphill battle with GPs where I tend to actually advocate going, that's completely fine for somebody to actually go, could I potentially have this? Could I potentially have X, Y, and Z? And there's no harm in having the conversations. And so that's why I say, if going to your GP is great. If you have a great GP, amazing. Sometimes people tend to walk into different GP settings and they probably see you 5 minutes and they go shoo you away. Advocate for your rights where you go, I really want to have a chat. Can you give me your thoughts behind it? And if, unfortunately, if you don't have the right GP, then, seeking out to specialist services that do offer the screeners and do offer that conversation up front, that's also going to be another avenue that I would say that it's a really good way to actually look at your health.
Yeah, to be fair, I did say GP is your main port of call, but if you are nervous, just pick one and go. Realistically, if you go, I really think a psychologist will help me out here, go to them. Good chances are they're not going to say we're going to start a gym routine together. They'll actually take care of mental health, and if they don't know it, they'll push you across. Again, if you come to a physio and you have problems with mental health that you want to work on, I'm not going to try and touch that, so I will pass you across. So anyone you feel comfortable with is your port of call, but if you don't know what to pick and you're happy with anyone, GP.
Thanks. I have had the experience of going to a GP and then going to a physio separately and then having a better experience for the people so, yeah.
Hello. I have two questions, but I'll ask the first one and consider next week. My first one was to Justice. It's just with your journey. What is something that kind of has surprised you the most that either kind of worked or that afterwards kind of looking back on it, you're like, why did I keep doing that?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think early days, actually, it's a great question. Early days, I sort of fell into the trap of, because I started my GLP-1, which is, I'll use Ozempic. It's not the one I use, but that's what people know, at the start of the year. And I sort of fell into the trap of being like, oh, that's good enough for this week. Like, I don't want to work out. I don't want to whatever. And I did see results doing that. But looking back, I'm like, I could have given myself such a bigger kick in the butt by being way more consistent with my fitness at the same time. Because it does solve one part of it and it does help me address my insulin resistance, which is part of why I take it. But yeah, I think you see especially with stuff like Ozempic, you see a lot of celebrities use it and just drop weight and they're like, yeah, I just take Ozempic. And it's like, oh, that'll be okay. That'll get me going. And then I'll do more fitness. But looking back, I'm like, that was so silly. And I think at the time I was very much I thought it would really fix everything. And it is such a useful tool when used appropriately. But it's not going to fix everything. So looking back, I'm like, oh, I was a silly guy.
I think that's the biggest one, especially for now the hysteria around Ozempic use for weight loss. Obviously it's for, diabetes type 2 as the main drive. We found it did something else really good. Celebrities are starting to do, I'm using Ozempic, it's done the trick and that's all I had. No, it's not. No. They've got personal trainers. They've got chefs working with them. They've got the money to back everything else up and just post on socials. This is all I did. So again, that's part of the don't compare, because especially on social media, you'll get a lot of people lying to you and taking the perfect shot and saying this is all I did and not showing the hours of work they put in to get there. And that just makes you feel bad when you say this is all I've done. And then when you look at medication, it is really good. Medication's there for a reason, We've got 100 years plus of research to get us somewhere, but it's not a catch-all. Yeah. It's to help, not to fix and solve by itself.
It's a tool in your toolkit. It shouldn't be the one thing that you rely on. And I fell into that trap, not consistently, but some weeks I'd be like, oh, it's okay because I'm taking my medication. So that's okay. And I just can't be bothered and I'm busy, whatever. And it's no, it is a tool and it's okay to have weeks where you don't work out. Be kind to yourself, but falling back, I fell back on it way too much. And looking back, I'm like, yeah, I wish I'd maybe gone for that walk a little bit more kind of thing.
And again, really don't be angry at yourself.
100% be kind to yourself.
I'll own up to the fact that, I think for the last 6 months, I have not exercised near enough. I think I am actually the biggest I've been in about 2 years and I've lost some muscle mass. Life happens. Don't stress out. Just go, cool, how can I slowly work on this? And if it is going from what was, daily gym to now sometimes monthly, just go, cool, I'll just try weekly again, and I'm not going to go for 5 days a week straight off because that will not work and I'll get even angry at myself. Slow progress to get yourself back to where you want to be.
I think we've just hit time. So that's it. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank